and we are now live. Happy hour. And who's going to be the first person? Do you reckon Justin Hess is going to? It's almost like day 20, I think, for you, Justin. If you're trying, and he is as well, and he is straight away. How is that possible? The guy's superhuman. Guys, welcome to what is? Would you believe you're joining us? I didn't actually tell you this. We actually episode 50.
Right. I'm not the oldest person that's joined you.
No.
So 2 records.
Wait, I don't think you are. Surely not.
No, we won't go there.
That's not dwell. No, episode 50, day 51. I would love to say that I managed to do 50 days straight, but for saving all of our sanities, we decided to have a day off. And yes, it is. And we've got actually, I'm really humbled to have one of the most amazing guests on the show tonight, especially for episode 50. A person that actually got me into wine when I was starting to feel like I was sort of getting out of wine. And then got me into wine even so hardcore, ended up actually going to, I wouldn't say your heartland, but it is where your heart largely is. To Barolo. But we have David Ridge. Thank you so much for joining us, mate.
My pleasure, my humble pleasure. Anybody who wants to talk to me is all right by me.
Well, can I offer you a glass of wine, mate?
Yes.
What are we feeling today? What are we feeling?
Well, I didn't bring Nebbiolos.
No, because I told everyone we're going to have some Barolo, but we don't have any Barolo, so we're just sorry. But no, we're going to talk a lot about Barolo, but let's grab a little cheeky red wine. And no, we're going whites. Let's go in reverse. Let's do something a little bit. Actually, no, I'm feeling these little guys because I reckon this is fun. There we go. Now, have you seen our little array of crazy ways to open bottles of wine? These are our weapon choices here, but we'll start with the conventional because I feel we won't introduce. We're not going to introduce David to everyone's favourite toy for opening wine. But have you actually seen this?
No.
Yeah, it's like a torture device.
In all your years working in wine.
In all your years working in wine,
oh, yes,
have you ever actually encountered this particular method of opening wine?
That's gas, I take it.
Well, no, it's
gas powered.
No. It's hand powered actually.
Right, you'll need to explain that.
You pierce the cork, and then you inject gas into the bottle, and it pushes the. Yeah.
My brother-in-law's got something very similar. Joe.
Oh, really?
That he would engage in.
I can say it looks very naughty when you do it. I can assure you of that. All right, so we've got a cheeky little Fiano here. I thought textural white would be a really fun place to start.
I'm ashamed to say I haven't tried your Fiano for 2 years. You remember you came to my place a couple of years ago around the bench and we tasted a whole heap of things?
Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen one for a couple of years.
Well, it's this one here. I mean, it's improved because now Laura makes it.
Right.
And Laura's got a much more deft hand than myself, and a lot more focus, which is what I find works very well for making wine.
Got a reasonable amount of experience making wine, haven't you?
Yeah. But let's. Oh, you've already got Simon. I'm going to say Sayaka.
Simon
Kiker. Sorry, Simon. So best bloke in the business. Just woke up from my nana nap on time. G'day Yuko, Christina, Aidan, Kerry, Sean. Lovely to see you again, mate. Jicky. Oh man, Terry. You got everyone. Got all the regulars. It's so good. Episode 50 already. Amazing effort. Thank you so much for the guys' crew out at Scarf. Very good, and I hope you guys are doing very, very well. Beer's being a good boy today. That you know of. No, I thought we'd actually talk about something that is very, very close to my heart. Actually, Laura's heart, David, your heart, Barolo. What is Barolo? What just for people at home that are like,
that's good. I'm glad you said it like that because it's a thing that people have taken to either mean the whole subject of Nebbiolo. So on one level, it's that. To a lot of other people, it's the region within Piedmont, that larger region around Alba that takes in
northern Italy.
Yeah, but just below Turin, they sort of call that whole area Barolo. They call the whole concept Barolo, and it just needs to be put into a context because Barolo, in fact, is one little town in
Very
the middle
small.
of this zone, a
Very
tiny
small.
little village.
Yeah.
Barolo's actually itself left Barbaresco in its wake. I'm going all over the joint here. But
because I want to talk to you about
I always
Barbaresco.
have to get Barbaresco in because they're equals. They're siblings and they're equals. Barolo just happens to have been the one with that rolls off your tongue, that people like the sound of. It's the senior wine in the sense that more of it's made than Barbaresco, for example.
Yeah.
But here it is. Here's the explanation. Barolo and Barbaresco are two zones. Roughly, Barolo's 20 by 20 k's. It's made up of 11 villages, that of which we sort of concentrate on 7 or 8 of them that produce most of the serious wine. The name is the name for the appellation for these wines grown from Nebbiolo within these certain 11 towns, but it has become bigger than that. Barbaresco is the other side of the town of Alba. This is my virtual map. The other side of that
Look
side
at
of
animated
Alba.
titles and highlight your hands.
And a zone called Barbaresco, which is made up of four of these villages.
Yeah.
Which is simply the wine's released a year earlier. The wines are lighter and more elegant and zippy than Barolo, which is more perhaps darker and earthier version of Nebbiolo. But Barolo's become the name for the whole region.
It's actually really interesting that because like Barolo, so we were married in La Morra.
Right.
Yeah, right. We're actually and we couldn't get
Don't tell me Bovill.
No. So was it the owners of Bovill. So no, it was Belvedere. isn't it?
Belvedere, that's where the
But
Bovill
then they
people
moved
came
down to Bovill.
Yes.
Yeah. We had
Well, my
we had our
wife's
lunch
50th
there.
birthday was at Bovill.
Oh, reception was at Bovill.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised I remember it. When Aldovira comes in and goes, "You may have whatever wines you want," and we're like, "Okay." But no, it's one of the most picturesque places as well. Like people talk about how picturesque wine regions are, and I find it really hard pressed to find a single point in my travels in wine that I've stood like at La Morra, overlooking towards Barbaresco.
I'm getting wistful because I'm not going to get there this year.
I know, oh man, it's the most appealing place. But the other really cool thing I find, actually, we concentrate on all these different villages. And this is going to be a super wine nerdy thing, and I know you guys have heard me talk about this plenty of times, we talk about soil types.
Yeah.
And the soil types are so varying, and it's so what we call non-homogeneous. Like, it's not everything's on this slope and then everything's on that slope. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
And there's inherent interest, time and time again. My biggest eye-opening moment in wine came when, people, this game we play, obviously you guys are very well aware of the blind tasting game. And we're talking about various like aha moments. Genesis wines, just moments where things start to click. Like you're learning algebra for the first time and it's suddenly you realize exactly what's up and you're like, oh wow, okay, I totally get the concept. And we were trying blind wines and there was this sort of like blue fruited, rich, dense style of Barolo that just kept coming up and coming up and coming up.
Fort D'Alba.
It was Canubi, freaking Canubi, over and over again. But it didn't actually matter whether that was from
It's
from
the
any
fact that it's got a personality.
Well, yeah, but from even different producers, they all kind of tasted the same. But Canubi tasted like nothing else. And then that expanded out into Monforte d'Alba, into Serralunga, where we're getting sort of more clay-based stuff. We could start to taste across one particular region. I suppose it probably helps that I was working there at the time, and we had 3 months to just now the one grape variety. But what for you was the aha moment for Barolo? What got you to Barolo? Like,
it was actually a Nebbiolo from Mudgee.
Right.
A guy called Carlo Corino worked. I forget now. I shouldn't forget these things. The name of his little winery. He sold it. He sold the vineyards, I think, to Orlando, and they kept a little bit of it. And those.
Were these the Mudgee clones? Where they talk about
look, there was Barbera and Nebbiolo. I can't remember what else. So I'm talking the early '80s. I'm talking before you guys were born.
And, you're gonna keep bringing it up.
I did.
Yeah,
didn't I?
right.
And that and a wine from Fontana Fredda that I bought at what was then Booze Brothers in O'Connell Street.
Yeah.
In that funny odd-shaped bottle, was just, or was it a Gattinara? Whatever it was. This is amazing. This is like, a few years later, I read or heard an Oregon winemaker refer to Nebbiolo's Pinot Noir with attitude. And that was it. That was my aha moment, because you know the sexiness of them and the liveness and all the layers and stuff like that and the mystery, you know, it comes at you. But the same as Pinot Noir, but with tannin. So you had to be able to, you know, take that grip and want it.
Yeah.
And I was in any case beginning to be Italianized, you know, because of marriage and stuff like that. But
Italianized, because you obviously married
Tanya was really Joe's sister. Yep. And you know, it was becoming, I suppose, wine for food, not wine for trophies.
Yes.
So I wanted liveness and savoury and stuff like that. And this in Sangiovese was giving me the you know, a different look, you know, than what people were doing in Australia and what people who were still devotees of France. It was just a different look. I mean, I'm still a devotee of French wine and Spanish wine and Portuguese and American.
Just wine in general.
Yeah.
But there's a particular appeal about something like that. We actually made the big distinction that there are people that love Pinot Noir and people that love Nebbiolo. Sometimes they're the same people, but typically we find they're different. And we call them pinophiles and nebephiliacs. And it's important.
In a business sense, this is what's happened. I formed something in 1998. I was still associated with Negotiants. I was doing their imported broking, selling their importeds, but by that stage I was 10 years devotee of Nebbiolo. You know, we had a little bit of a portfolio, but I realised the only other grape. You know how people form little lunch clubs. Nobody has lunch clubs for Riesling or Cabernet or Merlot or even Shiraz.
We'll get one for Fiano one day.
But they do go crazy over Pinot Noir. You know, there are Burgundy clubs. They start with Champagne, a bit of Chardonnay, then they go crazy, talk about Pinot Noir, and I realised in '98, and I formed this thing called Club Neb, that this was the only other grape that people would go silly over.
Love it. That's so good.
Was Nebbiolo.
So what happened to Club Neb? Still
on?
on?
No, it still goes, but the only trouble with these societies is that I'm the secretary, the president and the founder, and the only bugger that ever does any work. So we used to meet all over the country, and I've had meetings in... Angelo Gaia was our first patron.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Angelo Gaia, the Angelo
I told
Gaia.
Ange it would be good for his career. I did. He got it.
Well, and you know, but it really skyrocketed after that. I mean,
he put his prices up.
I reckon we should breathe life into Club Neb again. I reckon.
Oh, please.
How cool! Would you guys go to Club Neb if there was like a monthly thing inside your city where we start? And does it have to be exclusively Neb?
Okay, you're all in. No. Well, it's the whole area, I suppose, because going on from the concept of Barolo as a wine, you know, as you guys know, that area, there ain't anything like it in the world for getting the whole thing right. The people are wonderful.
Yeah.
The visuals are wonderful. The food's off the planet.
The food is gnarly. Tayarin, man.
What's number one?
Vitello Tonato, probably.
Agnolotti del Plin.
Agnolotti del Plin. And Hotel Barolo, the Agnolotti del Plin. I've heard of it.
So good.
Joe Grilli was telling me that his many years ago, Daniel and Mattel, the two kids were there eating. Daniel got up. He left his Agnolotti to go to the toilet, and his mum gave some to his brother and his sister. And he came back and he broke and burst out crying. Yeah. It is that, you're probably right. That's a substance like I've only ever seen one restaurant in Australia do it.
Yeah. Agnolotti del Plin, Tayarin, which is tagliatelle, which is the how many egg? It's like 40. 40, isn't it?
Yep.
40 egg yolks per kilo of pasta.
Of pasta, yeah. You know, when I first used to go there, 14 courses was normal for lunch or dinner. 14 courses, yep.
You wouldn't
you wouldn't have any white wine, but maybe there was a champagne if they were loosened up.
Yeah.
But it was dolcetto or freezer or something like that. What do you want white wine for? They'd say so. Because we're here to eat, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, of course, you know, Arnais is really kicked off now. Roero is starting to kick off.
Yeah, well, anise was virtually non-existent when I first started to go there. So people like Giacosa, Vietti, of course, Ceretto. Look, there wouldn't have been a few hectares of the stuff when I started to go there.
An Aussie winemaker out at Toronto.
Yeah.
Aussie winemaker, Dave
Fletcher.
Yeah, Dave Fletcher. Jumping straight to the comments, can't wait to see what David has brought along for blind tasting. Big shoes to fill after last night. I'm going to assume it's not going to be Grange, just saying, but it will be very interesting. Showing from that. Hi from Sue and Craig, love Barolo, but not a regular wine in our house. You don't necessarily need to go the full extent. Barolo does have a bit of a price tag. You can get it actually at a really good price. You actually bring in some really well-priced Barolos, don't you?
Yeah, I do. And that's my main, I guess, my main commercial game is looking after about 20 producers from the zone, and working with them with different distributors, and I do a couple myself, Barale and Sordo, were a couple. Well, I will tell the story because these are a couple
from loving Barolo and being Italianized into a family, and going, I'm going to put cold hard cash down.
Back then I was in the distribution game, so we formed Classic Wine Merchants. We bought the old Chester Cellars wholesale license back in 1980, end of 81.
Whoa.
That's so cool.
So that, and in there, we bought their wholesale business, and they had Horton, Henschke, Brown Brothers, and we thought, beauty, we can, because we were modern thinkers, we knew what we should do. And soon after, we added the newcomers like Kate Mentell and Lewin Estate. But anyway, the Brown Brothers left to do their own thing, and they became national and did their own thing. But Henschke stuck around, and why was I telling that story?
Yeah, no, because you had bought the license from Chester Cellars, and it includes.
So we were distributors. I was already a long time in distribution, and so we looked after quite a lot of really good brands, mainly for South Australia, but lots of names. Eventually, we did Jim Barry's, we did Bazados. A lot of people wouldn't remember that, but that was quite big. Kate Mentell, when it first hit and Cloudy Bay, we were the place that launched Cloudy Bay Sauvignon Blanc, as far as I know, in Australia.
Yeah, right.
And lots of other interesting things. A few news. So we were always looking ahead of what the market should have.
Yeah.
And so.
And that's one of the hardest things with, because we've had some amazing, and I should actually acknowledge as well, Mark Reginato chiming, whatever he brought it as his options wine I want to drink. What a legend. Shane Ettridge from Proof, sort of was Gangster Booze. You've made it, mate. If people are calling what you bring in Gangster Booze, just saying that we should have a graphic for Gangster Booze. It's like not as high as Big Label Energy, but it's just below. And we've had, the likes of Shane on. We've had the likes of Shane on, where he was talking about when they established Proof and what it was going to be, and they started up and realised that's not what their customers were looking for. And they had to change their entire business strategy, their business model, to be able to cater for customers. Importers, though, there's a different game. You need to have a remarkable foresight as to being able to. It's not like you can go, oh look, customers under this. We're just gonna. Pivot. We're just going to change. That overused word at the moment, pivoting. We have to pivot and change. You need to think about things that they don't even know about in the first place.
Yeah. Well, that was Barolo. Back in the mid '80s. So I went to, my first trip was to Italy, was '87, and then '88 to Barolo was my first trip. So like everybody else, I went with the great Primo Caon for my first trip to Italy, which was an experience. But like everybody else, we went to Chianti. Everything was Florence in those days.
Yeah.
And but there was this thing saying there's up there to the northwest is Torino, and then this place called Barolo.
And is this where your other house family actually come from?
No. They're from Le Marche.
Oh wow, on the opposite side,
coast.
on the Adriatic.
Yeah.
Amazing wines on the Marche.
And absolutely, I guess our house wine is Verdicchio. As a result.
Awesome. Underrated wine, actually.
Very, very underrated.
Heavily underrated. Yeah.
Because it deserves to be more highly rated, because technically they've been making good wine as a normal thing for years. All the producers, so it's a bit funny. Maybe
so they haven't gone through.
It's a long, hard word to pronounce. Not as easy as Suave or Barolo. It's
so
not as easy. How
do you reckon something like a Ciertico is going to go, considering that it starts with ass?
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. All right.
Well, seems the best known producers of Barry's so far. That's probably appropriate.
Yeah, that's it. Stephen Harris, who's an amazing, a Kiwi in Sydney, who has a penchant for drinking some of the most magnificent booze and aged booze at that. What is your company name?
David Ridge.
David Ridge.
Yeah, I couldn't
David
think of
Ridge
anything else. I'm supposed to turn it into DRW, but you know these graphics things, I just haven't got around to do it.
It's linked up in the description, Stephen. So if you go through, you can actually jump to his website, get in touch, because you do have actually because you sent me a bit of a message about some wines that were landing.
Yeah. I've got an online license, but my main business is looking after those other producers. But these two, to finish the story. Barali's in the middle of Barolo village.
Yeah, as you drive sort of out.
If you walk out of the little we'll say La Cantinetta there in Via Roma.
Yeah.
Walk across the road, there's Barali. And I walked past it for years. Occasionally I drop in and taste, and then eventually it just dawned on me what vineyards they had. Canubi.
Yep.
Bussia over in Montfort.
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm pointing in Montfort. Castellero across the road, facing Canubi, and wonderful people. And so, rightio, I'll this is one that I don't want to let someone like Uncle Trembath, scoop up when
other competing importers.
Who would have done a
great job anyway. Yeah.
No question. But so I thought I'll do that myself.
There's a good opportunity there.
Yeah, the distributors didn't want it at the time. It was one of the tougher times that distributors close up and they open up and close.
Yeah.
So I decided I'd do that myself. So back in the game, and then Soldador came along, which was utterly remarkable too. A family just down below Barolo in the village of Castiglione Folletto, which you guys know well, who had 17 pieces of cru being the specialist vineyards within these communes, within these villages. And they had 17 of them, and they actually released 8 of them, including Rocca di Castiglione and Villero from Castiglione Folletto, two of the top 5 names of the entire region. Vietti, for example, made them famous and fabulous wines. And then Monprivato. That was the sealer.
At Monprivato.
Monprivato is
it shared
Giuseppe
between them and Giuseppe Mascarello?
Yeah, who've got 90% of it, and these guys have got they've got the other 9% roughly. And we all thought Monprivato was Mascarello's monopole. One of the 2 or 3 great wines time up. Controversial because they don't look perfect all the time, but bloody spectacular.
So you used a really interesting word, and I'm keen to keep, because we know at different sort of levels and people that chime in here, a monopole.
Yeah.
Monopole. It's
a monopole is basically an own vineyard.
One producer from that whole vineyard. So if you see, the words quite often when you see Monprivato holds a big weight because Mascarello is probably, I'm going to say, the biggest traditionalist in Barolo, the one that was completely against the DOCG rules coming in. And sort of flaunted it, but some of the most long-lived and most sort of excitedly sort of collected bottles every single year.
This is Giuseppe Mascarello.
Oh, Giuseppe Mascarello.
As distinct from Bartolo Mascarello.
Forgive me.
B Mascarello is the one in Barolo.
In Barolo, yeah.
And Giuseppe Mascarello, who's also brought into Australia. I forget who brings it in, but they're fabulous. Well, they make singly my favourite ever Barolo, I think, Villero.
Yeah.
So when I saw these Soldador people had these, I thought, well, the next thing is I did know them. I tasted there a few times, and they were being bought in a small way here. But then I just asked them to send me not their best vintage, send me the selection of wines. So I got myself and Peter Godden together, because Peter's as critical a taster and knows more about Nebbiolo than any of us will ever know.
He's the true Neb head.
Yeah. We tasted the 14s, and they were amazing. As you know, 14 was a controversial year.
I was working there. It was very hard, very, very wet.
There's 30% of people made fabulous wines because they held their nerve, and there's a lot of junk. A lot of real junk, and particularly Dolcetto and Barbera, just give them a swerve. But good 14s are wonderful wines, and these were electrifying.
Yeah.
We tasted them at a Malfi restaurant.
Yeah.
They set us over in the corner and they just left us alone with a little bit of food. And this was a revelation to try these 8 vineyards.
Right.
But every single wine was really good. Really good. And they weren't modernists. They were traditional. They were Michael McNamara from the Prince in Melbourne said, Reggie, these are transparent. These actually are so simply made. They let the things talk about where they come from.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're on about with wine in general, aren't
Just
we?
in general, and I think that the term winemaking artifact is this growing term that's quite often used, but basically the hand of the winemaker constantly kind of mucking that connection between time and place. Transparency is the reason why we can taste wines and do that kind of cool parlor trick where it's like, where does this wine actually come from, purely based on flavour.
Yeah.
And you're sort of recalling that. I think every single time someone kind of mucks with something, it stands in the way of that. Actually kind of like takes a lot of the joy of wine. I think otherwise it could come from anywhere. But what you want is wines that could only come from there.
And that's the essence of the interest in Barolo, because like Burgundy, all parcellated, all these little bits and pieces, you can jump a fence and the wine's quite different. Now, if you take away winemaking artifice and different approaches to it, and they're all made the same, like these Sordo, for example, make everything as identically as you can, you can actually see two vineyards that abut and two completely different, not completely, two quite different wines.
Yeah, quite different wines.
Yeah, and that's the fascination. That's why there's this fascination in seeing wines with cru, with the borrowed French term, where it's not just commune by commune with personality, but vineyard by vineyard with personality. That's what we find fascinating.
So is it, because speaking of wines that I'm really curious about, because I know everyone else is, and I'm very curious about the ones that you've actually brought for some blind tasting, but there was a term, I just want to, because there's a term for cru, I think, in Italian that I'd never actually heard until I went to Sicily. And I'm curious to know, actually, and I don't know the answer to this, if they use this in Barolo as well. They used a term in Sicily to denote vineyards by something called contrada.
Contrada, yeah. No, not really. It's been used, I've seen it used in old documents there.
Yeah.
But they actually, because they're so close to France, they got away with using the term cru, so we use that term. And
indeed, wasn't it a part of France once?
Yeah, well, Napoleon, I think, ran the joint for a while. And in fact, we joke,
Savoy
I've
Kings.
done it once, you can actually have lunch in Beaune and dinner in Barolo. You can do it.
Have you ever done it?
I have, yeah. I was
so cool.
I was very late for dinner, I can tell you. But when I got to the Hotel Barolo, in Barolo, there they were. I was only about 4 hours late, but for Italians, there's more outrageous things you can do. And there's a magnum of 61 Barolo Canubi sitting there waiting in a decanter. Not a magnum, in a decanter waiting for me. Even though I was 4 hours late, the kitchen just waited. Isn't that amazing? That's
Wouldn't happen anywhere else in the world. Well, let's get cracking. You've brought 2 wines, which I'm really excited about. It is that time of the evening that everyone chimes in for. The last sport left on Australian television, blind tasting. Laura, would you do the honours, pretty please? We got 2.
Which one should we do first?
Tall or short?
Do the short one.
Do a short one. Oh, I'm very excited.
So you'll know that the only hints I'll give you about these two are that number one, they're not Nebbiolo. Okay. And that'll be self-evident by the colour, although you can get decolorised Neb. And the other is that they are a dramatic contrast.
Oh, okay. Or should we look at both of them side by side?
Do both of them, Laura.
Side by side. All right. Well, let's. We're giving up. Would you mind passing me both of those glasses, pretty please? Because and you can pull that one out if you like. Because
this is good. Texture's fantastic.
Super textural. I think that's the joy of something like Fiano. And this is actually a organic, certified organic vineyard out of the Riverland, grown by Bruce and Val Basham. Utterly amazing, amazing vineyard. But it's to showcase, like, as we sort of segregate a lot of our Fiano, we go from a desert-like region to a continental climate in Clare Valley to a hills, cool climate up in Adelaide Hills. And we start to actually see an amazing gradual progression of acidity, as well as, changing ripeness. Again, it's about looking at transparency for these things. Whilst in somewhere like Barolo, where we're getting it so nailed down to that slope, within a couple of meters apart, these are the different flavors. In Australia, because we don't have the establishment of our key variety, or a key method of viticulture, it's actually really quite difficult to be able to craft transparent wines.
You know what it's got? It's got the character that you barely would have seen in an Australian, say if you went to the Australian Wine Show lunch, the Adelaide Wine Show lunch 20 years ago, we used to, 20, 30 years ago,
one.
they used to always knock the imported wine off that we would bring along, because the guys were so used to getting single dimensional wines, just a varietal character.
Yeah.
Just a varietal character. And they
Well, that's
didn't have what your wine has, and that's grip.
Yeah. Oh man.
Acidity's there, but it's got grip. That
yeah.
savoury thing that makes it food
It
friendly.
makes it thrilling as well, just a thrilling drink. I mean, we're all for, in fact, you know, we say reds that we craft here, we actually go for zero tannin. We don't want any grip, apart from Nebbiolo, which wouldn't be Nebbiolo if it didn't have grip. But, you know, because reds, you know, we're trying to be responsive to the country that we live in. You know, you want red wines here that don't have grip. And maybe not in Adelaide, but maybe up in Brisbane or Sydney or somewhere like that. But with whites, yeah, totally, grip's awesome. It turns out we have a lot of Club Neb fans, just quietly.
Right.
there's a ton of people that are really, really keen on Club Neb. Stephen Harris, tonight's wine. Wow, man, awesome. Brokenwood Indigo Shiraz, 2010. That's going to be really good. Mark Reginot currently drinking an Applewood Green Ant gin, waiting for you to crack some Barolo. We haven't actually brought any Barolo, so you've been waiting a while. But that's the OG Green Ant gin. Very cool to see. How much do you have left? Giacomo Conterno, yeah, the other probably largest traditionalist next to Bartolo Mascarello, which I did make the mistake of just before. Our go-to and possibly best value is Fontana Fredda. Now, you actually said Fontana Fredda a moment ago. I thought that was the one that's in Barolo Township.
No,
Fontana
they're actually in
Fredda.
Serralunga. That's the property of the first king of the unified Italy,
Right.
Victor Emmanuel. Well, in fact, it's where he kept his mistress.
So do they have, am I correct in saying like you can go to the cellar there, I'm pretty confident, it either was Barale or Fontana Fredda, and you can buy like straight over the counter, like 1980s bottles.
Well, you can buy,
1970s.
Barale has lets you buy older wines, as does Sordo, but Fontana Fredda, I'm pretty sure, have a library going right
Way back,
Yeah,
way back.
yeah.
And are they,
In
Fontana
fact,
Fredda-
there was a release. Peter Saturno and I bought some 2001 Fontana Freddas only a couple of years ago.
Whoa, Jesus Christ, mate. Unfortunately, I think the one on the left-hand side might have been kissed by the cork.
Yeah, I think it has.
But I'm keen to give it a bit of... Are they the same variety? Is this what we're looking at?
No.
No, they're two completely different things. Because the one on the right is just beautiful and pretty and everything that I love about wine.
Oh, what a
Oh,
pity.
that's a real pity.
We take it out.
That's a real pity.
Take it out of circulation.
I do want to know what the wine was. I'm putting the comments down so Laura can let you know what has been poured. Unfortunately, the first wine, that shorter bottle, has seen the bad side of a cork. But this other wine, in complete and utter contrast, just couldn't be more like. See, this is pinging. This is like apricot, floral. This is amazing. It's clearly a muscat. It has to be a muscat or a Gewürz-like thing, surely.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what the contrast is, if you like, to tease a little bit. The contrast is you're looking at the two most, one's the most northerly and one's the most southerly white wine you can grow in Italy. So the first one, unfortunately, is a Catacante from Sicily. So we'll leave that out.
Wow, because I was initially
pity.
going to go. That is a real pity because Catacante is one of the most sort of amazingly textural and
Yeah.
also saline styles that you get in both wine here.
It's
but I
Italian
actually
Chablis.
thought, oh yeah, totally, yeah. Catacante, a lot of those southern varieties that you can get a little cool liquor reduction. Catacante is a big one. Fiano as well, like really sort of cool climate Fiano is fantastic. I actually was going to pick that as the northern Italian one though.
Right.
Yeah, because I was going. I'm dead set in muscat territory, but that's kind of really thrown me.
Well, to be honest, it's a bit more aromatic than I recall it, and I was going to need to make sure I knew which order these were in. To be honest.
But okay. First, I mean, have you played the options game before?
Yeah.
Yeah, played the options game.
a million times.
Yes, he's probably like, I invented the options game with Len Evans. I mean, firstly,
Is it Austria, Germany, or Italy?
I'm trying to go through the northern part of Italy and just because when I'm in northern Italy, quite often, apart from Soave, I'm not really drinking whites. I'm typically drinking
Okay, it is Italy,
Valpolicella.
and I bought this for that very reason. To me, the most exciting white wine in Europe. To me,
It's
and my favourite,
insane.
my favourite variety.
It literally smells like Gewürz if Gewürz had like more spice. It's got amazing weight and texture, but it's clipped at the finish, which is nice because a bit of warmth. Not too sure if it's just me and the amount of 4x gold that I've had today. It is so incredibly aromatic. Oh, I know what it is too, and I can't pluck it out of the back of my head.
There wouldn't be 5 makers of it in Australia.
Nah, I'd be hard pressed to see anything like this to come from Australia. That's for sure. If they would, they'd hit a QA 23 yeast, do a cool ferment, and just look like Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah.
No, this is super fun.
It's textural.
Fuck, I know the variety.
Okay, I'll narrow it down.
Oh, it's Italy. I'm going to say it's Italy.
Yep,
It's
so
definitely
it is.
Italy. Yeah,
It
yeah.
is, and it's
Oh, it's like Torontes. That's what it reminds me of.
is it Piedmont, Alto Adige, or Friuli?
Ooh, well, it's definitely not Piemonte. It's definitely either I'm going to say Alto Adige.
Good.
Cool. All right.
What part of Alto Adige? Trento, Bolzano, or Isaactaler?
Trento.
Okay, it's Isaactaler Valley.
Oh, so it's well north.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
right. So
A
right on the
quarter
border.
of an hour to Austria.
Well, it feels Austrian. It definitely. Well,
does
and
have
if you're in
that.
Alto Adige, you could certainly, speak German, get away with it. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, the signs are all in German.
Signs are
and
in
the
German.
Italian are secondary.
Yeah,
Everything's-
absolutely.
It
They
is an
even.
amazing place. The Isaactaler Valley around Bresanone or Brixen in the German. This is a place that's been. It's really German for all intents and purposes. Everybody, the food is German, but they're quite happy to be part of Italy. Germans that are happy to be part of Italy. Work on that one.
It reminds me of an Elena Walsh. That's what it reminds me of.
Okay, which variety?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know the variety. That's
Okay,
really
look-
messy. I'm just,
Muller, Turgau, Silvaner, or Kerner?
yeah. Wow. Okay.
The aromatics will give it away in that case.
Well, I haven't had a lot of Kerner before, and I don't think it's Müller-Thurgau.
No.
Because Müller-Thurgau will be like the Carocante, like so textural and almost like flat nose. Yeah, Silvana.
Muller Turgau has a fusel oil, a diesel oil.
Yeah. Because it's a
Metallic.
cross. I think it's a cross.
chalky.
It's a Riesling cross with Silvana, isn't it? I'm gonna go. Is that Silvana?
No,
it's Kerner.
Silvaner is a freestanding its own variety. This is Kerner,
Wow.
which
I haven't had a lot of
is
Kerner.
this is a hybrid. To me, this is my favourite white wine on the planet, bar nothing.
That is so cool. What's it a hybrid of? Let's find out.
It's Trollinger and which is Schiava, Vernach. From further down, there's Schiava is the light red,
Yeah.
so it's a red and
Trollinger and
Riesling.
Trollinger and Riesling. Yeah, right.
And
Yeah,
Riesling.
It does
Schiava.
have like a
So it's a
floral Riesling.
It's a hybrid
That's
of
incredible.
Riesling and a red. What a freak out, eh?
That's an amazing wine. It's almost like everything you want muscat to be with it because it's got acidity,
But toned down.
but
Yeah.
toned right down. That's you could that with bubbles would be fantastic. I'd like to see this as a cheeky pet nat, or like a Colfondo style.
Yeah, I like them. I like them just as they are.
No, these are really cool. A really cool grape variety, and there isn't in terms of producers of Kerner inside Australia.
Yeah.
I think there's really only a handful. What's the and like the guys that make Not Your Grandma's Riesling up in the Barossa do an amazing job, I think, with Kerner. That's fantastic. Have you guys ever tried Kerner as well? Can you tell me about Kerner? This is why we get people like Dave on to teach me shit.
There's 4,000 hectares of the stuff grown in Germany. It's in the Palatinate and Rheinhessen and a bit in Mosel. That's the major place that it's grown. It's a hybrid developed in the late 20s.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
There's a little bit in. Where else? Oh well, apart from here, not much else.
Not much else anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe New
But
Zealand?
It's a wonderful. There is a couple of producers, but they're fairly new. There was a little bit in the Barossa Valley 30 or 40 years ago, and that was grubbed out. and Silvana was. I treat Silvana and Kerner as a pigeon pair. I adore both of them.
Yeah.
Silvana is a varietal and heavily grown and very well grown in Germany. But to me, this little pocket up in the far north of Italy is my second favourite place to be.
That's really good fun.
It's fantastic.
That's really good. What was the other one? Out of curiosity, I'm just curious to see. I mean, there's just not a lot of Catacante that's available in Australia.
Chaffee Brothers was the...
Chaffee Brothers was the one that I was thinking about that might actually make a Kerner as well. Oh, cool. Edna Bianco as well. Yeah, right. That's a really cool fun bottle. That's such a shame because Edna's just holds so much captivation, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I like the dichotomy between the two. Very thoughtful.
Pity the closure got in the way, but
it happens. It happens. Don't stress too much about it. Addie is chiming in. Addie, where are you chiming in from? The 14 vintage were really great buys, as most people stay clear of them due to the perception that it's an off vintage. We're talking about Barolo here. 2014 is really turning out great among Austrian wines too. Yeah, 2014 was a really mixed bag. Down south, I remember it was like one of the better vintages, very quite warm, the exact opposite of what they were experiencing in when I was there anyway, in Barolo. I'd never seen vitritized Nebbiolo before. That was incredible. It was amazing. Some, I've had some Dolcettos from there that were really good, but they'll pick before the rain, like earlier ripening Dolcetto.
because it is the first variety to ripen, isn't
Always,
it?
yeah, first one. But as soon as the rains hit, it was pretty much non-stop. I've never seen anything like that. Keen to know what he thinks of your Pastafari in BC. Yes, he's going to be leaving with a bottle, Terry. I assure you of that. We were talking about that vineyard just before. Greg, have either of you gentlemen had much Timorasso?
Timorasso, yeah,
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's 3 or 4 varieties. Timorasso and Nascetta are the two
Yeah.
really interesting. And Favorito, I like.
Favorito
That,
is
that
fantastic,
lemony,
yeah.
really lemony.
From Northern Italy, outside of whites, though.
Herbaluce from this part of the world.
I have a thing about, and maybe it's just because I'm still on my wine journey. I have a thing about confected reds, Beaujolais Nouveau styles, and I discovered Pella Verga.
Right.
Everyone talks about Fraser from Barolo, and I personally don't find that very fascinating and fun. But Pella Verga, I could drink that every single day for the rest of my
That's
life.
their Beaujolais, isn't it? Along with
It's amazing.
Along with Bardolino over in the Veneto.
Now
that's
Bardolino
Italy's.
isn't Bardolino. That's not a grape variety. That's a style that's made from Molinara, isn't it?
Yeah, Molinara, Rondinella,
Yeah, the
Corvina,
Valpolicella, but early release, super fun.
Well, it's a different zone. It's actually its own zone around Lake Garda.
Yeah.
So it's over. If you look at the map, it's over to the left of Valpolicella.
Oh, man,
so
that
above Suave and over.
Sitting in the base Lake Garda, just drinking the hot.
Absolutely,
Oh man, that is
yeah.
just too good. To Garvey, yeah, absolutely. Some amazing northern Italian wines there. We've got the text that is rolling past his gold. Yeah. Chaffee Brothers, awesome wine envy. Haven't tried it though. The only Alto Adige we have tried is from Foradori, and their main wine, of course, is Toroldigo. Yes, and they do another white.
Probably Pinot Bianco. Is it?
No, it's not. It is Foradori white is
Ribolla Gialla, maybe.
Manzoni Bianco, Manzoni Fontana Sanata.
Right,
There you go.
Don't know.
There you go. It's a little white blend. If anyone can, if we have the eponymous Sean Lau on the line, we would love to know. He would know what the Elisabetta Foradori white is from. It's a really interesting style of white. I sold you that Bellotto, Dan McAvoy. Yes, you did. Bellotto does a whole lot of Pella Verga. Yeah, they do an amazing amount of Pella Verga. All right, so we've got 15 minutes left, mate. Where time is flying, and we still want to know exactly sort of how you sort of made that big move to, because in your story, we're basically you had a distributor, but to actually import wine, I want to know that first. But before we do that, and while we do that, let's get another wine in some glasses. We've got some wrapped up bottles here, and you can choose from any one of these. It could be anything. I don't even know what they are.
That one.
Yeah, that one. Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
closest.
It's closest one. We'll give that to Laura. I'll put the comments down, and we'll see how we fare. But that wine is looking fantastic. That is delicious. Is that a little one you bring in?
Yeah. Well, one of the distributors, Primavera, do this.
You're right. Primavera is based in Melbourne.
Melbourne.
Yeah.
Really, a really good distributor. the sort of person to understand this sort of wine, because it has to be hand sold. It has to be people have to be shown this to understand it. Texture, razor sharp, a variety that smells strange to people at first, but they just drive me crazy. This producer,
this is brilliant.
This to me is the best of the producers up there. But there's Walsh and Peter Plieger. They're the really good
Black
producers.
Glasses, is that empty?
The Abbazia Novicella. People would be pretty familiar with their wines. But this is the best little producer. I used to bring it in many moons ago as David Ridge when we were associated with. As Distinguished Vineyards when we were associated with Petaluma.
Oh, right.
And that was all sold out to Lion Nathan back in the early
day.
2000s.
And of course Lion no longer does any wine.
No. So as they dropped off these things, I eventually picked them up and put them with different distributors, and then I kept a couple of things to myself. If I was ever going to keep anything for myself, this would have been it. They're just fabulous. You get about 40 dozen to sell for in a year.
40 dozen?
Yeah.
40 dozen.
I did a tasting. I visited there last year. Probably the second most exciting white tasting of my entire life. All 8 wines. When I mark, I just give stars 1, 2, or 3. In other words, one is this is commercially correct for me because I approach it commercially as well as enjoyment wise. 2, hey, there's a lot going on here.
Yep.
And 3, wacky do. This is the real thing anywhere.
Wacky do is such an awesome
wines,
saying, by the way.
all 8 wines were 3 stars.
Yeah,
but I've got a better story than that. About 5 years ago, we went to Brolo to have for my wife's birthday, and Prue and Stephen Henschke came with us, and we decided we'd all go on a road trip up to Switzerland. We decided instead of going straight up,
sounds like
we'd go up
the most gentrified version of The Hangover.
We went up the A22 and to stop here. It's quite a detour, but there was a particular reason that I wanted to do this. Anyway, we sat down with Gunter Kirschbaumer, the producer, in his tiny little place, and he poured out a glass of Silvana for Prue, and she squealed, a little squeal. I don't think she'll deny it. She was like an electric shock. The excitement of this wine, that hit her. I took them there because they had Silvana in their vineyards 35 years ago and grubbed them out. So I took them there by way of taking the piss. Silvana. The companion variety.
Oh, the companion variety, that's right, yeah.
So I took them there by way of.
So are we gonna see a Henschke?
I don't know. I wish.
Maybe I know the bushfires hit their Adelaide Hills vineyards pretty badly. So maybe we could see some replanting and maybe a little bit of Kerner. Kerner action might be actually a bit of fun. If only that would be Henschke Kerner would be pretty baller. I'm just gonna say seriously, guys. This is this is amazing. This is actually really good drink. Cool, 14% as well. Yeah, definitely a little bit of white for a Northern Italian. That's certainly really good fun. The ripeness though is just fantastic. That is dainty. That is it's
ripe and dainty. It's controlled structure.
It's like a ballerina.
Complex.
It's got like I think, and it sounds like a really wanky term, but it's got poise. It's got tension to it, which I find really, really, really appealing. But no, we're jumping on the little black glasses here. Have you used black glasses before?
I don't think I have. Even tasting with Tim White, I can't bring myself to do it.
It's really disorienting.
I have never done it before.
It's really disorienting. And this particular wine pays us no favours because, of course, if you spit it out, you'll actually see what colour it is.
Am I allowed to do that?
Well, no, of course you're allowed to spit it out, but before we spit it out, you should try to guess
whether it's red or white.
Yeah, because I think this one's hard. I think this one's hard because has this. I'm just gonna, I'm all for the world's most basic tasting notes, but it smells like mashed potato.
Okay, no, it smells like lemon rind to me, lemon mash. Yeah. So it's white for me.
I'd say it's white with a bit of age. So it's white with a bit of age. What do we got, Law?
Yeah,
it's white. It's white. All right, cool. All right.
Now it's got some varietal tangs in it, a little bit like we saw before. There's some lemon or melon skin herbals, what I call herbals.
It's taking a while to open up. It's a little bit reductive.
It is a little bit reductive.
I'm sitting in the realms of like Chardonnay here, like Chablis-esque Chardonnay. But are we going to go Old World, New World? I'm going to go Old World.
Yeah, old for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, country.
What are our options?
Give us 3 options.
This is going to go Italy, France, Spain.
Italy for me, I'll just do it.
Portugal, Italy, France.
I'm going to go France. I'm going to go with my gut.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Sub-regions. Or is it like a super niche?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Aha. So it's Mansing or something.
Someone came. It was actually John O'Hursey. He goes, "You've never had this wine, never had this wine." And I'm like, "I swear to God." He's like, "Nope, you won't get it." And I was like, "It reminds me of the red wine that's made just a little bit outside of Champagne." And he's like, "Okay," without actually getting it, you got to see it was at Champlete. It was Champlete.
Which is what?
It's Pinot Chardonnay blended, like it's almost a little like Bardolino, but it's it's literally just outside of Champagne, and it comes in litre bottles. It's amazing wine, actually, very good drinking wine.
Alright, Loire Valley, Burgundy, or Alsace?
Oh, that's rough.
Loire for me, because it's aromatic. It's just not enough texture for Alsace for me. I did think Chardonnay at very first, but...
Could be a Pouilly.
Yeah.
Pouilly Fumé. Yeah.
Yeah, a low varietal.
I'm
Slightly
going...
dusty palate, which is Loire.
It's just not enough ripeness, I think, for Burgundy as well.
Chalky palate.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go Loire Valley on this one.
Burgundy.
It's Burgundy. Yeah, right. Okay. All right. Well, I suppose.
Well, that's a big.
It's a big
zone.
It's but I suppose Burgundy's had a bit of a spate of very cold vintages. This doesn't seem to have that much age on it. A little bit, but not too much. Perhaps it's coming from a very cool vintage. All right. What's within Burgundy? Are we going to go sub regions?
Oh, I'm not that strong on that.
Not that strong on that.
You know the variety.
Well, it's definitely Chardonnay then. It's definitely Chardonnay.
Okay.
Burgundian producer. Could we possibly? How well do you know Burgundy?
Pretty well.
Pretty well, relatively well.
Well, obviously.
yeah. We picked this Loire. So could we posit where this potentially comes from? Is it a blend of vineyards or is it a cru? It's a cru.
Cru. Right. Whoa.
All right.
So is it mainstream Cote de Beaune or Maconnais? Do you know? 'Cause it's got
Maconnais.
Maconnais look about it,
into
hasn't
it.
it? Slightly
Yeah.
herbal. I don't drink enough Chardonnay these days.
I can't afford Burgundy, except for when it's
Well,
blind tasted on a
Yeah,
show.
it's Chablis.
It's
You said Chablis right early in the piece, and
so it is Chablis.
Yeah.
It is Chablis.
you know Chablis has a smell. It's got a smell.
It's reduction.
and I call it hot water. You know when you run the hot tap, and
It
then,
smells like mashed potato.
and then and you shut it off, and the next time you come to it, it's still been affected by the heat. But you take a glass of that water and drink it, or kettle water. I know it's a funny one, but it gives.
This is so good for you guys at home. This is so good.
My wine,
for you guys
my
to be
wine
able to check
group
out.
will say, Ridgie will tell you every time.
Hot water is the smell of
Chablis
Chablis.
is hot water.
Hot water. So do a whole bunch of hot water, turn it off, then get like a glass of normal. Okay, so it is Chablis. Okay.
I don't think it's that old, personally. I think it's a little bit
I
old.
think, and it makes a lot of sense because like pretty much the last 6 vintages of Chablis have been complete and utter carnage when it comes to hail and cold weather and low yields. I think this is Monty de Tonnerre, 2018.
You got the vineyard right, but the vintage wrong.
Fucking not
What
bad.
vintage did you say?
I said 2018.
That's what I would have said, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was. Maybe it's got a bit more age. Nah, 17.
17.
Wow.
A better
Super
vintage.
lean. MDT. Yeah, Monty de Tonnerre. Just a leaner, crisper thing. I think it would go really well. Do I want it?
Producer?
Producer, I don't. I wouldn't. I don't know that many produces a MDT, to be honest.
Yeah.
But are we
William
talking about?
Febvre's
Oh, Gerard Duplessis, organic estate. That's really cool. That's super cool. I love their labels too.
Frank
Seriously.
about wine.
Yeah, a little importer in Sydney that does this little Premier Cru MDT Monty de Tonnerre. That's pretty good. 2017. I'd like to see it in like 6 years' time. Not a bad sort of thing to look side by side with this Kerner, I think, because it feels it's got the palate weight of that Kerner.
Does this wine have that hot water smell?
It does, yeah. It's the very first thing I thought, and then wandered off with the herbals.
Chris Hayward.
Monte de Tonnerre has lemon and honey characters, and that's where I wandered off to, I guess.
How
Other things.
cool is this? How cool is this? Chris Hayward has chimed in on Facebook. Our vineyard here in the UK grows Kerner, 49-year-old vines. We make 2 stills, a sparkling and a skin contact called Astley Vineyard. Our cool climate shows more of the reason connection. Alto Adige style is much more stone fruits and rounded.
Well, Kerner should suit the modern English viticulture for sure.
How cool is that? Chris, where is the, I assume it's obviously in the south, but I mean, like, where are we in the south? Chris, I'd really like to know. That's so cool, and thanks so much for chiming in. That is actually a genuinely interesting thing to learn as a 49-year-old Kerner vines in the UK. You know, what's going to happen next? 2018 Orange Kerner is something else, 250 bottles only. We're still around thanks to your support. Japan is a big fan of Kerner. And that's probably where I think that I've actually tried something like this before, possibly in Japan. Actually, not Spain. Laura, what is the Alto Adige in front of them, please? Addie, the Alto Adige here is, how do you pronounce that?
Kerferhof.
Kerferhof? Their little Kerner, DOC.
So it's DOC is Isaac Thaler, or Vallisarco in the Italian, Isaac Thaler in the German. Kerner.
So Chris is in the Midlands, near Birmingham, Worcestershire, Welsh borderish.
Wow.
49-year-old Kerner vines. This is blowing my mind.
Fantastic.
No, north of London. That is
Welsh
so cool,
Riesling.
man. That is so cool. We have literally 2 minutes,
Right.
and I've still got the question. How do you bring yourself to putting cold hard cash down and saying we're going to be bringing in containers of Barolo? You've gone from loving it. You've met some people. You've seen, hey, there's going to be like a really cool opportunity here.
Yeah, indulgent. My accountant is my wife. Has been for 33
She
years.
really
so
like
she's
Barolo
used
as
to-
well.
Laura's rolling her eyes.
Yeah, she knows what's up.
You go out on a passion and a sure, and not a sure thing, but experience. I've got a lot of experience, and people generally speaking know that what I'm going to offer them is interesting, to say the very least, and authentic. So that's why I do that. And
Is it the joy?
you need an
passion?
overdraft.
But is it the
And
joy and
emergency
passion you get of
sources.
sharing the stories? Because you actually act as
absolutely,
essentially
yeah.
like the representation of these brands here in Australia.
Yeah. So I'm not interested in industrial beverage or any of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
We're interested in wine from people and places, that speak of where they come from. That's what it's always been about for me.
Cool.
That's where it comes from. And so money doesn't matter. Sorry.
I mean, it does.
Sorry,
it does.
sweetie.
But
money doesn't matter when you know that you've got an audience that has the same passion or needs you to fill their fascination in wines that speak of where they come from. That's the motivation.
See, that right there is probably the soundbite for this entire long episode. David, thank you so much for coming on, mate. And I'm pretty confident I can speak for absolutely everyone that's chimed in as well. Just the sheer and utter passion is absolutely mimicked, not just by them, but by us as well. And it's really good and warming to actually see people that are bringing in wines that, I mean, dude, I haven't tried a lot of fucking Kerner in my life.
Well,
it's an
I suspect
amazing
this
wine,
is
and
not
I
the last
absolutely
one.
should have.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, like as you sort of alluded to before, the job of an importer is so much more complex when you're having to introduce people to things that they have literally never experienced before. But it's just the sheer and utter belief that they need to experience something like this. It's just fun. The fact that someone like Prue Henschke can get giddy at the concept of something like this is just, yes, I can completely understand that and completely appreciate that. So you're a service to the industry, the service to the
thank you.
grape, and
That's very
service
nice of you to
to
say.
the people in Italy and everywhere else you bring in the wines from. Guys, thank you so much for chiming in for our 50th episode.
Thank you.
David, thank you so much for joining us for our 50th episode. And tomorrow night, same time, we're doing something super special for Mother's Day. what we are going to, it'll be Laura and I, as we usually do on a Sunday. We're doing a cook-off. Our mother's recipes. Your mum always cooked you something at home that's just unrivaled, unmatched. Now I've done a bit of background research. I've got the recipe, the secret recipe.
You're going to do hers and she's going to do yours? Or?
Oh, that might even be an interesting twist. That could be a really interesting twist. Maybe Laura would need to do my mother's recipe and I wanted to do her mother's recipe.
No, don't
that would
do
be
it.
don't do it.
Don't try that.
So we're gonna bring these together. We're gonna present them to you guys. We want to know what your mums used to cook for you at home that you've just never been able to replicate. And you know what? Interesting exercise. Call your mum up if she's still around and get that recipe off her, because you don't want to leave these things till they're too late, right? You want to get that recipe. You want to feel that nostalgia. You want to taste it, and we're going to be matching those with a bunch of wines. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and see you same time tomorrow.